results. So whatever we are organizing, so whatever trainings we are organizing, that must bring certain fruitful results in the form of annual results of the learners. So today we are discussing teaching of prose. We all are aware that in our textbooks, which are being prescribed by department NCERT, and the purpose of those textbook is that the students should be able to get this knowledge of this second language, English, in two forms. Mean the learner should be able to listen, understand, and they must be in a position to speak that language, that second language which we are teaching. So the textbooks which are having the major portion is dealing with the prose. So prose is meant for learning a language, and teaching prose mean teaching reading with comprehension. Mean up to class 8th, the purpose of teaching prose was different. But now, for a period of 8 years, the students have this experience of learning this prose. But now, when student enters at secondary stage in class 9th, so it is expected that the students have this capacity in him that he is reading that second language with comprehension, and the learners are taught this skill of reading. The skill of reading is, I think it should be complete at primary level up to class 8th. The next step is to teach them reading with comprehension, and reading with comprehension will help the learners to acquire new vocabulary and content words. Mean the purpose of this prose is that they must have this increase in their vocabulary. Each and every lesson which is being included in our curriculum contains certain new vocabulary, and for that purpose we are teaching that particular lesson, because with the help of that lesson students are made aware, they are being given experience of those new words, those new vocabulary words. The power of comprehension can be promoted through reading and listening. Mean during this prose teaching, two kinds of activities should be organized in the class. Mean there should be reading and there should be listening in the classroom. Teaching prose enables students to understand that passage, to read it fluently, to enrich their vocabulary, and to enjoy reading and writing. Mean learning of any language is by ear. When a student gets an opportunity, when he has the experience of listening the language, that will be ultimately converted to speaking. We have seen that when a person suddenly shifts from one area to some other area, suppose I shift from this Hindi speaking belt where I am presently living to a belt where I have the opportunity to listen Punjabi language. I am not getting any lessons of Punjabi. I am not reading any textbooks of Punjabi, but after a gap, after a period of 3, 4, 6 months, my language will acquire certain Punjabi words, because I am constantly listening those words of that Punjabi language, and suddenly they will come in my speech. When I will speak, those words will itself be included in it. Means, so similarly, when we are teaching second language English in our schools, if the learners are getting this opportunity of listening for maximum time, maximum period, then certainly they will acquire it. The problem that the students of our schools, they are not speaking English is because that they don't get the proper opportunity of listening English in their day-to-day routine. So it enables the learners to extend their knowledge of vocabulary and structures. Vocabulary, new words are being introduced in the lesson, and how these new words are differently used in different kind of structures of sentences to become more proficient in our language, in 4 language skills. We are aware that there are 4 language skills: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And whatever prose lessons we are teaching with the help of our textbooks in our schools, they will ultimately add new vocabulary, new structures, and these new vocabulary, and these new structures will ultimately enrich the learner in all the 4 skills, that whenever he will speak, whenever he will write, everything, those new vocabulary would found there. The main aim of teaching prose, why teaching prose is being included in the curriculum? It is literary and the content. To achieve the literary and the content, the aim of teaching of prose should be intensive and extensive. Then what is this intensive reading and extensive reading? Reading a text for accuracy is called intensive reading. So we are having 2 textbooks in our curriculum in each class. In class 9, 10th, 11th, and 12th. In secondary stage, we are having 2 books. One book is called Reader, which is for detailed study. And that textbook for detailed study is for intensive reading. From that textbook, the student must have the knowledge of both the things, means the vocabulary as well as the structure being used there. So intensive reading is more an exercise. It is done with the close guidance of the teacher. That textbook which is prescribed for detailed study, for intensive reading, the each and every line, each and every word has to be taught by the teacher in the classroom. It forces the learner to pay more attention. It involves profound and detailed understanding of the text, and it is primarily concerned with the development of reading strategies. The reading strategies, which are these are judgment, the learner will acquire the skill of judgment, reasoning, interpretation, and appreciation. This intensive reading book, which is for detailed study, being prescribed by NCERT, and which we are dealing with in our day-to-day life, having these prose lessons, these will develop these 4 things in the learners: the skill of judgment, the skill of reasoning, the skill of interpretation, and the skill of appreciation. So intensive reading is more an exercise in accuracy. The ultimate purpose of this intensive reading is, this detailed study book is, that the students must acquire accurate knowledge of the language. They don't read a text only for specific purpose of information. The second book, which is being prescribed for supplementary, as supplementary reader, that is not for this purpose. The purpose of that book is different. That is why each and every line, each and every word of that book hasn't been dealt in such a manner that we are dealing with this detailed study book. So a text is considered suitable for scanning of information, paying attention to the writer's intentions, arguments, ideas, and styles. So the students are expected to answer all questions which involve their understanding of the text, grammar, vocabulary, and writing. See, if we see the assessment procedures adopted in our examination for this prose, we see that in exam, there are certain comprehension passages which are given, and on the basis of those comprehension passages, certain questions would be there. At the end of that passage, 5-7 questions would be there, and they will deal with the comprehension power of the learner. Mean, by going through that passage, the student is expected to answer the questions. And the questions are not based only on the theme or only on the content. They are based on the structures used in that comprehension passage, the vocabulary dealt with. Mean, the examiner will ask similar meanings, opposite meanings. They will ask them to form nouns, to form adjectives, and many more kind of things. Mean, so that is why this intensive exercise is to acquire accurate knowledge of language. So this teaching of prose, this intensive reading is based on the structural syllabus. Mean, we see that our textbooks are graded. Mean, a group of experts, they are engaged in the process of these textbook formations. So each and everything in 9th class, which lessons to be included, which lesson would be in the beginning of the class 9th, which would be in the middle, and which would be at the end. Mean, the major or the important work of that, how graded material or the graded prose to be served to our learners, it has been already done by the department. So it's very difficult to select any curriculum piece or any lesson that which should be taught in April, May, but this work has been made easy for us by the textbook writers. So the only we have to see, we have got monthly distribution of syllabus as well, that in April and May, these 3 lessons, in July and August, these lessons, and similarly. So what is the purpose of these structural syllabus, or why we are providing graded syllabus? And ultimately, lesson 1 contains certain vocabulary, certain structures of the language, which ultimately would be required by the learners in the rest of the lessons. So that is why first lesson is being taught in the month of April. So what should be the qualities of those matter, or the material, or the curriculum, or the lessons of the prose which is being provided or which is being supplied to the learners? It must be interesting. And we see that I myself have experience of teaching from class 9 to 12. Similarly, as you are teaching in the classrooms, I have seen certain lessons, that those lessons, they are being taken very excitedly by the learners in the classroom. There is a lesson in class 10th by the name of Bholi. You all must be aware with this. So I have seen that students, they know each and everything regarding that lessons. We don't put more emphasis, but there are certain lessons which we have to put more and more emphasis, and the students will not acquire that much matter or that much from the lessons that they acquire quite easily from the lesson of Bholi. Why it is so? Because this lesson is important for them. Because the similar kind of environment, the similar kind of content, the similar kind of culture, the similar kind of things are there in the lesson, which is prevalent around them. The students, they identify themselves with that lesson. So that is why that particular lesson is very interesting for the learners. So if we try to explain that there is something very interesting in every lesson, then I think the learners will acquire or the learners will learn the lesson in a similar way as they take that lesson of Holi. It should be well graded. Our all content or textbooks, they are graded. Multiple number of colorful pictures are necessary. So this is very important. Dekhiye, in certain subjects of mathematics, in science, the students get opportunity of drawing something. But in our subject, particularly English and languages in general, the students, they don't have this opportunity of working with colors. But if we provide this opportunity to them, we can provide them that whatever lessons are with us, if we ask them that whatever, if they can draw some pictures or they can draw some poster based on those lessons which are being given in our textbook. So we can ask them that you yourself can do this. So they will interestingly draw certain sketches related with those lessons. That I have discussed that in class 9, there is a lesson 1 related with computers, that how life would be after 50 or 100 years, that each and everything would be governed by computers, and instead of teachers, computers will teach. So we can ask them to draw computers. So whatever they have seen, whatever they think that the computer will look like this. So you will see that each and every learner will draw the picture in a different way and in an interesting way. So it will add some more interest of the learners. The ultimate purpose of ours is that the students, they enter into our curriculum with interest, not just by force, with interest. When they themselves will enter into the content, into the lesson, they will acquire the knowledge, whatever we are providing to them. So the picture should stimulate an interest in the lesson. So I have seen a number of our friends who are, I have visited a number of schools and I have seen that students, they draw different kind of sketches in their English textbook related with the lessons. So it will help the increased interest of the learners in those. So that is the ultimate reason. More opportunities for oral discussion before reading the text. This is very important. In our schools, whatever the prevalent methods of this prose teaching is available, the students are not getting opportunities for oral discussion. Particularly if the students are not in a position to discuss in target language, that is in English, then we can proceed with mother language. It is not important that if the students are speaking in English only, that only discussion would be there. We should proceed with mother language, our language, that each and every learner of our school is quite comfortable and in discussing in Hindi. So we can start with this discussion with Hindi language, and ultimately our purpose is to make them proficient in discussing in target language, that is English language. So starting with mother language, we will start adding certain vocabulary of target language in that discussion. With mother language, we will put certain mother language words, and they will ultimately be able to acquire the vocabulary of that language. So more opportunities for oral discussion before reading the text. That is more important. We in our classrooms, we just start that, open the books and open lesson number 3, and the teacher will start with the first line. That is not the proper way of teaching prose. Discussion should be before starting the reading of that text. First we have to prepare the environment of teaching that particular prose. What students thinks about, we should involve more and more students in that discussion, that what they think about this lesson. A few students, they must be aware with the lessons, that what kind of stories then that lesson. And if students are not in a position, then we are here, they are in the class, that we will start this conversation. This opportunity, oral opportunity, it will help the learners to build their confidence, to acquire vocabulary, to acquire structures, and many more things. So the ultimate purpose is, when our learners, they themselves start, or they themselves get involved in the lesson, it would help us in acquiring this language skills. Then difficult words, phrases, and ideas should be clearly explained by the teacher. I have seen that the teachers, just they are translating the prose content available in the books. Teacher will read a single line and then will translate that line into mother language, Hindi language. That is not the thing. That is not the purpose of teaching English in secondary classes. So what should we do? Wherever or whenever there are certain functional grammar available in that prose lesson, it should be explained there and then with the help of chalk and blackboard. If there is some preposition used in that prose content, then we must ask our learners that please underline this preposition, that how it has been used here. If certain, there is some in that prose content, if there is some passive voice there, then we should ask the learners that why it is passive voice. Then some of the students will be in a position to tell you that how it is passive voice. And if they will not explain to us, then we will explain that this sentence is in passive voice, because these are there. So where it is, so functional grammar has to be dealt with while teaching prose lessons in the classroom. The different phrases are there, different ideas are there, and it must have provisions for silent reading and reading aloud. Dekhiye, in primary classes, this opportunity of loud reading was available. But if you consider that enough of loud reading hasn't been practiced at primary level, then we can still proceed with this loud reading in our secondary classes in the beginning. A few beginning months, we can use this method, that we can ask some of the students and they will read aloud, because this loud reading will ultimately acquire the right kind of pronunciation to the learners, which is very important. Because when again and again certain words which are being, it is the duty of the teacher that there are a 90%, 95% words are there which are there in that prose content, where the general pronunciation rules are there. But if it is a deviation from the normal, mean that there are certain silent words there where the pronunciation is in a different way, then it is our duty that from that particular lesson, those words which need a different kind of pronunciation, which has to be practiced by the learners, especially, they should be separated and they should be written on the blackboard, and a drill of those words should be there for those 2-3 days till the lesson is complete. What is the aim of teaching prose? The aim of teaching prose is to develop the language ability of the students. All the 4 skills of the language, they are being acquired by this prose It is the intensive study of the language. The language ability helps the learners to use English language without any problem. And then what are the journal aims? Journal aims, they change with the lesson. Each and every lesson has certain general aims of teaching that lessons related with that. To understand the passage and grasp its meaning, these are the journal aims. The read the correct pronunciation, stress, intonation, pause, articulation, to enable students to understand the passage by silent reading, to enrich their active and passive vocabulary, to express the ideas of the passage orally in writing, to enjoy reading and writing, to develop their imagination, to prepare students for world citizenship. It is not the language alone that has to be acquired by the learner. With the language, it is the culture of that language that also has to be acquired by the learner. Mean the learner, the language is not alone, because we have seen that in every lesson there are certain cultural background, there are certain words which are related with that particular culture, and not only that, we have to provide that what those particular words are, whether they are available in our culture or not. Mean we have to compare that particular language with our mother language as well. Mean what those words or what those ideas or what those concepts are called in our language, in our mother language. Mean by comparing and contrasting, no single language can be taught alone. Language has to be taught by comparison and contrasting with mother language or with the other language which is being taught in the classroom. 3 language formula is available in our schools, particularly in secondary classes, that the students are having these 3 languages. So by comparing and contrasting all the 3 languages, it will help the learners to learn those things. That in English, how the students start with, the sentence starts. In Hindi, what is the structure of the sentence, and in Sanskrit or Punjabi or Urdu, wherever, whatever is available in your school. So we can have a comparison of all the languages while teaching a particular language, where now we are discussing with this English language. So a comparison and contrast of these languages will help our learners to acquire those concepts, that vocabulary, that structure quite comfortably, quite easily, and in a permanent way. There are specific aims. Mean whether the lesson is a biography, whether the lesson is a story, whether the lesson is a play or essay, or so that is why the different kind of these matter is being available in prose. So each and every lesson has its specific aim. In class 9th and 10th, we have seen that there are certain plays as well there. In 11th, 12th also there are plays. So mean each and every lesson has its own specific aims. So what are the specific aims of stories? The learners learn a few facts through the story. To teach morals, that is the most important thing. Each and every story has got a moral, and that moral has to be acquired by the learners through that story. To mold one's character by reading language, these things are also be there. Exposure to the style of story writing. We have seen that each and every writer has his own style of writing. So that style has to be also be there in specific aims of teaching. What are the specific aims of essays? The learner learn a few facts through the essay. They make students curious about the subject of the essay. Exposure of the style of the essay writing to arrange ideas in an organized manner, right? the students have to write whatever they think in an organized manner. Suppose in our curriculum, there are 8, 10, 15 essays or paragraphs in curriculum. But in examination, there is no limit to it. Examiner can ask anything. Suppose we have taught in the classroom that the students we have learned them to write a scene, suppose annual function of our school. But if in examination, it is not the annual function, it is the annual science exhibition, it is the annual sports day of the school, or it is the annual result declaration day of the school, then our learners should be able to write a few sentences in an organized manner. So if we tell them that if this is the format of writing a paragraph, that we have to start like this and we have to end like this, then whatever is there in the examination, there won't be any problem like this. Now, specific aims of biography. The learners are exposed to the lives of great men. Most important. You will see that if we read the biographies, then we will conclude that the great men have acquired great ideas from the life of great men before. Biographies, they change the life of the individuals. So if we motivate our learners, then in a year, every student will read a single biography that ultimately will help them acquire certain life of great men, and ultimately the life of our learners will change. To mold one's character, aspiration for better things in life, to inculcate in them desirable sentiments, specific aims of play, to provide opportunities for self-expression, to play different roles, to speak English in conversational style, to mold one's character. Now, we have seen that there are in prose lesson, these are the varieties available in our textbooks. Now, how we are going to assess this prose of our learners, that whether they have acquired this knowledge of prose in them. So the assessment plan has to be accordingly as we are having in our final examination. See, why we are teaching our students throughout the years. The aim is that they get something in the month of March in their report cards. So ultimate aim is that whatever is there in examination, the students are able to answer those questions which are being asked in examination. So throughout year, our set examination is also based on those things. So whatever is being asked in final examination, the similar kind of pattern is available in set examinations as well. The similar kind of things are there in set examination as well. So similarly, in our classrooms as well, the assessment pattern, what we are going to follow is similarly as the content available in our examination. In our examination in secondary classes and senior secondary classes, we are having comprehension passages. Maximum portion is that there are certain comprehension passages. I think 2 unseen passages are there and 2 seen passages are there. So throughout the year, a lot of practice has to be there in the classrooms related with these passages, comprehension passages. So whatever lessons we are teaching them and whatever and based on those lessons as well, we have to provide them a lot of similar kind of unseen passages as well, from junior classroom textbooks, from magazines, from newspapers. There could be articles related with those. And now we are having, I think our students are having tablets from class 9 to 12th. So, and we are also having, teachers are also being provided tablets by the government. And so we can select certain graded material, and in whatever, I think there is some uploaded material available with you and with the students in those tabs as well, particularly for English language. And that material, I think, is appropriate for this prose assessment, that the students, whatever they are doing, whether they are going for a practice test on those tablets or not. I'm not aware of what kind of material is there, because I haven't gone through that material, but that must be, I think that is being selected by the experts, and that must be related with our level of our learners. So the assessment plan also has to be there. And now the whatever we are teaching in our classrooms, that must be related with learning outcomes, because this learning outcome is a new concept, which in every at every stage or in new education policy as well, it is being emphasized more and more that this learning outcomes related questions, learning outcomes related material should be in the assessment. And if it is in the assessment, then I think it should be there in our teaching as well. So I think all of us have this knowledge of these learning outcomes, I think. Have you seen the learning outcomes of secondary stage?
Yes, sir.
I'm sharing with you these learning outcomes of secondary stage with you. Just a minute, I'm sharing it.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Anji sir.
I'm just sharing. Just a minute.
Okay, sir.
It will take a minute. Just. See, these are the learning outcomes at the secondary stage, and these learning outcomes, these are available on the NCERT websites if you are not aware with these. And we should because we are teaching secondary classes, so we should be aware with these learning outcomes, particularly of our subject. So I'm just going to show you that what are the learning outcomes at secondary stage of classes 9th and 10th, and similar kinds of learning outcomes are for this class 11th and 12th as well, because it is based on 9th and 10th only. Just a minute, I'm just opening. So the ultimate purpose is that whatever we are teaching in the classroom and whatever assessment plan we are following in the classroom, if it is aligned with our learning outcomes, then it would be easy for us and our students will be able to acquire this knowledge that whatever is what will be there in the final examination, because the questions in the final examinations are based on learning outcomes only. So we are discussing today the teaching of prose. That these 5-6 learning outcomes are related with these prose of class 9th. And the first learning outcome is listens to announcements,
Other participants are
instructions,
requested
read aloud.
mute,
Please.
mute
Those whose mics
yourself.
are on, please silent it. Please silent your mics. Thank you. The learning outcome is listens to announcements, instructions, read aloud text, audio, video for information, gist and details, responds by answering questions accordingly. And in the colored portion, it is being written that what pedagogy has to be followed by teachers for this particular thing. Comprehend audio, video, script, read aloud text and answer comprehension and inferential questions by listening. So for this particular learning outcome, we can provide, each and every teacher is having a smartphone with him in the classroom. We are using that particular mobile phone for our personal purpose, but it has got more important educational purpose as well. If we are going to use that phone for educational purpose, it will help to achieve our targets, that our students will acquire this knowledge. So we can provide them this listening of audios, mean we can select certain graded material of audio portions, and that can be used in the classroom by our mobile. So after this audio is finished, then we can check the comprehension by the learners, that how much the learners have comprehended out of that audio clip. So based on that audio clip, we can ask a few questions, we can ask a few vocabulary, we can ask a few sentences, or we can ask them to write few sentences. Then we shall be in a position to know that how many students they have this listening skill. Means suppose we have in that audio clip, we have provided 10 sentences, 10 simple sentences in the classroom. And as soon as the audio is over, we will ask our learners that whatever you have listened, you please write in your notebook. And then we will come to know that how many students are there who have understood or who have comprehended this listening skill, and those who have written all the 10 sentences. Some will write 9, some 8, 3, 2, depending upon the kind of ability of the learners. So by doing so, we will come to know that how much proficient our learners are in our listening skill. So similarly, not by just playing audio in the classroom, we can speak 10 sentences based on a particular topic of that lesson, or prose topic, that I will speak 10 sentences on a particular story, and then what the learner comprehend will be checked. And then communicates thoughts, ideas, views, opinions verbally and non-verbally. It is not the only verbal opinion or the verbal communication that the learners have. Non-verbal communication is also there. We can provide 10 sentences in the form of a picture. A scene can be explained, And then we will ask the learners that to draw that scene in their notebooks. It is not that only that the writing form is available. Some students, those who don't have this writing skill, but they must have that non-verbal skill. They will draw the sketch in a better way. So all these things will be there in the classroom. Speak fluently with proper pronunciation, intonation, pose, appropriate grammar. This is another learning outcome. So whatever we can ask, that whatever new vocabulary, whatever new words in that particular period, in 2-3 passages, whatever we have read aloud in the classroom, and then we can ask a few learners that please pronounce this word, and then we will come to know whether the learners have acquired the right kind of pronunciation or not. So assessment has to be followed simultaneously. In every period, we must secure that whether our learners have acquired that particular content of the curriculum which I have delivered in the classroom or not. So we have for set 1 examination, we have taught our classroom for 2 months, and my curriculum is over. And then suddenly after set examination, well, I will mark the question paper, then I will come to know that my learners haven't acquired anything. So I have wasted 2 months. So if constantly I am checking the comprehension of my classroom in every period, it is not just that you organized a formal test and then you mark it out. At the end of every class, in 5 minutes, you can check the comprehension. A few students are there whose comprehension check would ultimately give you the assessment of your class, and accordingly we will frame our next days, what I'm going to teach the next day. And I have also we are having 7-8 minutes. I will also you please download in your mobile, and you ask in your training as well that each and every lecturer of English must have this list of learning outcomes of English at secondary level, because it is very important for all of them. So please ask them to download in their mobile and go through it. It will help them to teach as per whatever they. I have one model lesson of prose, that how it should be taught in the classroom with me. So I'm just going to show you that how we should proceed with. And I'm sharing just in a minute, please. So this is the class 11th lesson, the first lesson, but the name of the lesson is last lesson. I think, is it visible to all of you?
Sir, yes, it is visible.
Okay. Okay, ma'am, thank you. So this, what is the, how the teacher should proceed with a prose lesson? That this is the lesson, first lesson of 12th class of Flamingo, and the name of the lesson is the last lesson. So it is the first duty of the teacher that he will explain that why this last lesson is first lesson of the book, because it is quite contrasting that the name of the first lesson is the last lesson. So it should be clear that what is the purpose, why the textbook setters have placed this last lesson in the very beginning of the book. It can be at the end, but why it is the last lesson is at the first place. So the first we have to tell something about the author of the lesson. At secondary stage, it is our duty to provide the background of the writer, whose lesson we are going to teach in the classroom. So we should tell something about that writer in the classroom, that what kind of writer he was, what was his style of writing, and what are the piece of literature he has written which are known by his name. Now the background of the lesson. Then the story in the lesson is just a day's story is there, but why this setting was there? Why in a classroom a teacher was teaching French, and why in addition to students, why the elders were also sitting in the classroom, the parents of the students were also there in the classroom. So why it happened so? Why all the villagers are gathered in that classroom, and everything is in a fine setting is being available in there. So the background of the lesson should also be made clear, that how it happened, and then related with to you can share something, because now this Google is available with you in your hand, and you can search many more things, and it can be used, because previously it was very difficult for us because no smart rooms were available. Now, but each and every school has got smart class, and we have got, I think, 1.5 GB data is available with all of us, and I think it is sufficient enough to be used educationally. We are utilizing it daily for our various purposes, but if we utilize it for educational purpose, it will help us in acquiring our many more things. Next is a few things can be there. Then the last lesson. Then we can provide them the knowledge that how graphically the map of that particular area has suddenly changed from France to 2 districts, how they were acquired by Persian army, and why this setting has happened there, that this lesson is being taught there. Then certain narratives of the story, by whose lesson is the central character of the lesson is there, then how he is teaching, how he is going to the classroom, and what were the on the way, what were the attractions available to the central character of our lessons, and how after leaving so many attractions he went to the classroom, and what kind of scene was there. And there are certain important things which are being there in the classroom that must be discussed, that why the teacher of that classroom was the special attire he was having, and his mood was suddenly changed. He was having a different mood on different days as a regular teacher, but now today, because it was his last lesson, and from the next day he won't be a teacher in that school. So why these things are there? So I mean to say that as a teacher, the emphasis, another important thing which I would like to discuss with you, that is the thing, please, that should also be discussed in your classroom there. I'm going to share just in a minute. That is very important, that you in your training, you will share that and discuss with the teachers that this should be there. Each and every teacher must be aware with that. Without that, our today's lesson would be incomplete. Yes. In our English textbooks, I think in every textbook it must be there, but we have to discuss our subject only. That in the beginning, when our textbook start, this is the, I have downloaded it from NCERT textbook download, class 9th textbook is there. And before the beginning of lessons, that these 3 lessons are there. This is lesson number 1 of 9th class. the fun they had. And just before this, there is a heading called for the teacher, notes for the teacher. Mean what the teacher has to keep in mind classroom. Generally, our teachers are not reading this because it is not important for them at all. They consider it because ultimately it is a kind of boundaries for the teacher, that a teacher has to remain in this circle, that he has to, why this fun they had, this lesson is being included in the curriculum, and while teaching this lesson in the classroom, what the teacher has to keep in mind continuously in the classroom. So these, please, in your training sessions, you ask your teachers that please go through whatever notes for the teacher is available in our textbook before teaching a particular lesson in the classrooms. And whatever I have to say or I have to discuss with you is our, now you can say whatever you want to, a few of you, if you wish to. So please, thank you. You have listened me so patiently, and now you can please, some of you. Sir, Rajesh ji, please. Rajesh ji, you have raised your hand. Please say something. You unmute क्यों ना हो रहा? Rajni ma'am, please unmute Rajesh ji. Rajni ma'am. हाँ, Rajesh ji, please.
Doctor
You
sir,
are
good morning.
unmuted, sir.
Doctor sir, good morning.
Rajesh ji, namaskar.
Namaskar. Please carry on. You are doing good job. Please carry on. You are discussing the basic things of pedagogy, and please carry on. These are useful.
Rajesh sir, good morning. I think God sir has concluded the whole prose chapters. Now it's participants part to.
I want your comments, please,
Basically.
please. Because our lesson started at 10, our lecture, and it was up to 11 only, sir. And now,
Good morning, Dr. God.
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
Dr. God, I think 2 more sessions will be there.
Sir, because of course, a 5 days training cannot be concluded in just 2 days master trainers training, but there are certain foundations, and we all know that we all are experienced enough and competent enough to deal in the field as well. You are more experienced than me, all of us. So that is why I consider that you have more experience, more knowledge, and you will comfortably, you have enough experience of dealing with trainings in the field, sir.
Yes, Dr. God, you have very well explained the outcomes and as far as the pros is concerned, and we all are experienced person, they are well aware about pedagogy and basically how we can bring English to the classrooms. And I fully agree with you that
this is
starting,
not the thing ultimate whatever I have taught. You have your own ideas, you have your own methods, and you know better and more than me.
All English PGTs are well aware about all the basically background of the chapters also. And as I fully agree with you, sir, that we have to explain the background of that particular scenario of the chapter or content before jumping over the chapter.
Yes.
The
teachers, actually, our textbooks are, I think, complete enough, and they have each and everything available in those, but the teachers, they are not paying as much attention as it should be paid by them, because I think they must not be aware or something like that. So we should ask them to please go through these things, that whatever is being given notes for the teacher in the textbook, it is also learning outcome based.
one more request, sir, also because this training schedule is organizing so early that because day before yesterday only you were asking about 15 MTs, and today itself suddenly you organize this training for 3 days in 3 hours.
Dilbar ji.
I spoke. Yes, sir.
Dilbar ji. Please, Dilbar ji. इसमें मैं भी कुछ नहीं कर पाऊंगा क्योंकि ये टीचर एजुकेशन का काम है, तो उनसे बात करेंगे, ज्यादा बेहतर रहेगा।
नहीं, I have spoken to Tanu ma'am. I understand we all are in the same boat because it's the last concluding.
दिलबाग भाई ये एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव मैटर है।
हाँ, ये ऊपर से कुछ मामले आते हैं जिसमें हम और आप जो है वो उसमें अपना रोल अदा करना होता है अपने को।
दिलबाग
बिल्कुल सर, बिल्कुल
एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव मैटर है सर, एमटी हैं तो इससे लेक्चर से रिलेटेड डिस्कशन ठीक रहेगा इसमें।
हाँ, क्योंकि हम उसमें कुछ कर नहीं पाएंगे दिलबाग जी।
यस सर, बिल्कुल सर। नाउ गॉड सर, आई थिंक नेक्स्ट आवर पोएट्री एंड ग्रामर सेशन विल बी देयर सर।
या
ओके सर, ओके।
इसमें सर कुछ क्लासरूम चैलेंजेस और कॉन्टेक्स्ट को लेकर के बताते तो ज्यादा ठीक था। थियरी तो सारी बुक्स में है ही और सब पढ़कर आते हैं बीएड वगैरह में।
जी,
तो वो ज्यादा फ्रूटफुल रहेगा एक मोनोटोनस ट्रेनिंग के बजाय।
चलो नेक्स्ट टाइम फिर देखते हैं डिस्कशन अगले लेक्चर से, तो हम सब उसमें कंक्लूड करेंगे और अपना कंट्रीब्यूट करेंगे कि
खास करके हमारे बच्चों की जो बैकग्राउंड है उस हिसाब से।
what is the present position of our classrooms and the background of our learners, that must be kept in mind.
Dr. God,
Dr. God,
I would like to say something in this regard.
Why not, sir? Please add.
First issue is that as far as classroom challenges are concerned, it is one of the classroom challenges that we have got two books to teach. One book is for detailed study and other book is for extensive study, that is supplementary reader. And on the basis of my long experience, I can say with great conviction that most of our teachers are not well acquainted about the basic pedagogy of teaching of these two books.
Yes, sir.
So the topic which Dr. God discussed was of utmost importance, and it is being expected that we should study further in this regard, and we must understand the nuances of detailed study, intensive study, and extensive study. And only then we will be able to discuss these two books in the classroom as per the demand of pedagogy. That is what I want to say. So the topics which have been discussed are of utmost importance. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. So nice of you. So today, now we are concluding our session. You have added many. Please.
Sir, I want to ask one question, sir.
Okay.
Where from we get this pedagogy and other material? Can we download this from any link?
No, the module I think would be shared with you before starting this training in the field.
If we get it before the training, it will be very useful for us, because the teachers whom we will give the training, they will ask us many questions related to the classroom.
So sir, the module will be shared with the diets.
Dr. God,
the trainings would be organized.
Yes, Dr. God, I think that our MTs will be called for 2 days in diet prior to the start of offline training in the blocks. I think 2-day training will be organized at the diet level also.
Yes,
particularly for the orientation of MTs. So all these issues will be discussed at length in that training, and SCR, I have got the information that SCRT will share the module also.
Yes, sir, bilkul. Surely the module will be shared with diets, and ultimately then diet will share with the MTs.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So nice of you for listening so patiently. And I hope that you will transact better and because you know the real position of the schools, and by knowing the real position and then adding your own perspectives in it, then it will help ultimately to achieve the target for which the department is organizing this massive training. Thank you. So nice of you.
Thank you, sir.